All right, we are back. Casper and Cheryl here, and why is that still doing that? How about that? We are back with the MVP Champion Online Summit Series, and our next guests are in studio. I'm going to bring them up because I want to say a few words about these two folks, um, Eric and Sakeisha. Let me see. Let me get some stuff going here. Hey guys, are you there?
Hey.
Can you're muted? I think you're muted.
Unmute.
Unmute, please. Still muted.
We can't hear you.
You guys are muted.
I think he went to.
You're still muted. Okay. All right. Okay. Well, I'll talk to the audience while they're getting unmuted. So we connected with Eric and Sakeisha almost 2 years ago now,
Okay.
and we had a mutual. You're there, yes, sir. So we had a mutual friend introduce us. So we are looking for some folks to write a forward to our book. So we met with them. Sorry about that. Oops. We met with them online. We've never met in person, but we've been friends for like 2 years now.
Oh my
Not
God.
yet. Not yet, but we're coming at
We're
you.
gonna have to fix that.
We're gonna make it happen.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So they wrote the forward to our book, and then also helped us get connected on Zandra TV network with the TV. So we have a Winning with Love show and working on season 2. But they've been a really great friends and supporters and mentors of ours because they're a couple steps ahead of us in the whole game. So we're just watching them and trying to keep up. So thank you guys for coming on the summit and sharing your wisdom with us. You're going to be talking about financing and budgeting, I believe.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, definitely. It's a topic that's near and dear to our heart. So first of all, thank you guys so much for having us on this show. You guys are amazing.
Yes,
Absolutely.
very much so.
All right, we'll take it away.
All right. So definitely we're gonna definitely be respectful of the time. So we'll do like an abbreviated version of our usual talk. But Casper and Cheryl, you guys are amazing. Thank you so much for having us here. And for those of people that don't know us, we've been working with married couples now for 16 plus years.
Yes.
Those that are close to us or that have been in some of our teachings before, they know our background. But we wanted to talk about budgeting and financing because that's something that it says, I forget the percentage of couples that have disagreements, and it's in regards to money. And for those of you who don't know our testimony, many years ago, like our youngest kids are in their 20s now.
Yes.
But when our kids were little, I'll say this first: who you're connected to and who you go into business with matters.
Oh gosh. Yeah,
Who you are connected to and who you go into business with matters. Your financial decisions, it doesn't just impact the business side of your relationship, it impacts the personal side of your relationship. Why are you saying this, Sakeisha? And that's because many years ago, my husband, he as a part of one of his business ventures, he had some amazing partners, and they were literally almost at the table for an 8-figure deal, y'all. I'm serious. I'm like 8 figures, super excited, had all the bells and whistles. We're excited about what was to come next. And at the last minute, it fell apart.
Yes.
Because they weren't in alignment financially. And can I tell you, it had a domino effect on our family, on our finances, and impacted my husband. And as his wife, it's hard to watch your husband go through a letdown. Of course, as a wife, you always want to see your husband smile. You want to see him win in every area of his life. But financially, you got to be in alignment. So suffice it to say, back then, we had to wind up filing bankruptcy right before Christmas. I mean, how many of you guys out there watching are parents? We know as adults, okay, Christmas is not about gifts, but when you have 2 young children that are excited about Christmas and you got to file bankruptcy, right before that, my heart was like on the ground. So the process had to begin, after bankruptcy, because it's not something you just do and walk away from. It followed you on your credit for what, 7 years,
10 years.
10 years. And we had to start all over again, this rebuilding process. So we have a question for you couples out there that are watching.
Yes.
What's your biggest what? What's your biggest financial challenge as a couple? And the reason I ask you this, because when the two of you are in alignment financially, it's so much easier for the two of you to move forward, if that makes sense.
Yes, and that's the thing is, once you get married, you go from a single-minded to a together-minded. Two minds come to become one. And she was sharing about that financial piece, that a business affected the personal, and then of course it affected the investment aspect. But understanding your money mindset is what you have to have a talk about. It has to be both husband and wife have to talk about that aspect. So when
can I interrupt? We're going to give you guys 3 key strategies, because I know to be respectful of time, we tailored it down to 3. So number 1 is, like my husband was saying, that money mindset.
Right.
Where are the two of you guys mentally? Like Casper and Cheryl have been sharing in their segments, you see they have these keys, right? Now, look at your spouse. Which one of you is the spender and which one is you the saver? I mean, we're not going to point fingers. We're not going to be talking about one another. It's not about, but the truth is one of you is going to be a spender, one of you is going to be a saver, or one of you is
we switched roles, sometimes she became the saver and I became the spender, but mostly it was her being the spender and I become the saver. I'm not saying all the time, but
we can laugh about it now. It wasn't a laughing matter when you had to file bankruptcy right before Christmas, trying to figure out what you're going to do with your children and what was your next step. But we had to develop a money mindset, and our mindset regarding money had to be in alignment so we can move forward. Right. Make sense?
Yes. So we got to think about what we call the B word. Budget.
Yes.
And budgeting with entrepreneurship is also that takes it to another level, because we're going to break down the 3 parts of the entrepreneurial budget. Number 1 is the personal budget. Right. Number 2 is the business budget. And number 3 is the wealth investment budget.
Now, I'm sure you guys are wondering, Eric and Dr. Sakeisha, where are you coming from? Are you guys, what's going on here? Number 1, when we have that mindset, you got to have that money mindset come together in alignment and make a decision on where the two of you want to go as a couple. You got to be on the same page. If you're on page 2 and he's on page 40, there's a whole lot missing in between. So where are you financially and where do you want to go? Who's the spender? Who's the saver? And how did the two of you come together? Just like with conflict resolution, with communication, you've got to get in alignment.
And so when we're talking about that personal budget, that's where you have your household expenses and then your savings and then also your debt repayment. But then that's one thing. Now, because we're entrepreneurs, we're thinking about that business budget. That's where you're talking about revenue, reinvestment, operating costs, right? And then that third aspect is what? The investment.
Or the wealth building.
Wealth building aspect. So when we're talking about that, now we got to talk about retirement. Then we got to talk about legacy planning. But that personal budget is what affects all the others. And as you heard the story in the beginning, our business affected our personal. So we have to make sure that we can kind of separate some of those 3 types of budgets. We have some walls there, some firewalls to separate that. So we got to separate that personal budget versus the business budget and the investment budget, because if one of those fall, it affects all of them. And that's what happened with us. One of those fell and it affected all of us. And that's why we had to do bankruptcy.
So when we talk about it, when we talk about our mindset, and the reason I'm referring to this, we had to create a document, because a lot of times we have these conversations, but if you don't have anything in documentation, it's he said, she said. But once you put something in writing, you can refer to what the two of you agreed upon. So in order to get into that money mindset, we had to create a money meeting. We met monthly. Each person, your situation may be different. In dire straits, Sometimes you got to meet weekly about your finances.
gosh,
We've been
yes.
paycheck to paycheck, so we understand that. But sometimes the goal would be to get together at least on a minimum of monthly. You know what's coming in and what's going out, and you put it into 3 buckets. You got that personal budget, which in many cases we strive for that to be like 50% of the income. Then you have your business, if you're one or both of you are entrepreneurs, and then the wealth building, because we tend to wait to the last minute to want to plan for retirement.
Yeah.
No, we can't wait until then. Life happens before then. For those of you that know my personal story, I've been a pharmacist for 24 years now. Several years ago, I got sick unexpectedly, and I had to step away from pharmacy for 4 years.
Yes.
That's 4 years of a 6-figure income down the drain unexpectedly. What was going to happen then? But if you're planning long term, you're putting money in those buckets. If you're living within your means, meaning that you're accounting for your mortgage, you're accounting for your utilities, your groceries, you're able to shift. You know, for many women, we think about, oh, well, what's going to happen to my shoe budget? That's part of the miscellaneous part. And I'm being real with you and honest. I'm not going to sit here like a woman, like, I don't want, you want to look nice, want to be your hair done, makeup done, but that needs to be planned for. And just a caveat, that's one of the first things you cut if there is a decrease in income.
Now, one way of doing
Yeah.
that is you have multiple checking accounts or
Yeah.
accounts. So you can have that one
Mhm.
account where it's the core account that
Yeah.
handles all your household expenses. Your,
Yes.
you know, the mortgage, the car payments,
Mhm.
the rent. I mean, if you're renting,
Mhm.
food and that such. And then you have another account, which is your miscellaneous account. And that's where you get your nails done, your hair done, those types of things,
Mhm.
and that shopping. So that miscellaneous account. Then you have your investment account.
Mhm.
So out of that 100%, you can change the percentages from
Mhm.
each one, but typically you're going to have maybe about 40 to 60% of your income going into that core account to take care of
Yeah.
your bills. So if you got 60% in there, you got 40% to spread across, right?
Mhm.
So you can put another 20% in your or 10% in your miscellaneous, and then the other 30% into your investment. Now those can be played around. You can change that based on your your necessities and what you have with your discretionary income. But that's one way of looking at it. But there are many ways that you do for that personal budget.
Exactly. And the reason why we say that, because when you're getting ready to have this money meeting, for those of you, I like to take notes. I'm a note taker. You know how they say note takers are money makers?
Yes.
Take notes. Make sure when you're getting ready to schedule that money meeting, number one, block out a time where you will not be interrupted. The kids are not in the room. You're not going to have, you can silence the phones, no business calls. Make sure you know your monthly household expenses. You're going to have to create that system for managing your finances, and make sure you're putting aside or saving a percentage of your income, because the unexpected can and will happen, and start focusing on an emergency fund. Now you may be saying, okay, Dr. Sakeisha, we can't do all this at one time.
Right.
I get it. If you don't have that emergency fund for unexpected expenses, start focusing on that. Decide if you don't have 3 to 6 months of savings, first focus on getting at least $500 to $1,000 on the side in case something happens.
Right.
And the reason why we laughed, was it 2 weeks ago?
Mm.
Our daughter's car breaking down, wouldn't start like 4 or 5 times. And I got tired of sitting in Publix waiting for AAA. We're like, forget it. We've got this emergency fund. We're going to have to use it. Lo and behold, right after that, what happened with the door got stuck. They want $400 just to look at it. Okay, fine. But when you have that emergency fund, you don't have to rob Peter to pay Paul. You can go into that emergency fund and handle those things without it throwing your entire financial picture out the window. But that's going to require the two of you to be intentional about it. Of course, when you're in alignment and we're saying, hey, we want to get a new house, like when I tell you every penny was accounted for, it was like, no. Where that extra dollar come from out of the account? I'm being facetious, but you can be intentional about saying no to the Starbucks coffee, no to the eating out, because you have a bigger goal when the two of you are in alignment, making sure you have that on the side. That's how important that is to have that emergency fund.
Exactly.
And
Now, there's some products out there that you can get where you can have an emergency fund and it grows like a 401k
Mhm.
free.
yeah,
Now, so that fund can be used budgeting where you start your finance meeting.
Mhm.
You got to talk about, okay, so if we have children, we put aside, if you don't already own a home, put aside monies for the home.
if that's what they want.
If that's what you want,
Mhm.
then you got to look at, okay, well, we got to look at retirement, vacations. All that has to be in considerations. And there are plenty of products out there that you can utilize, especially like if you're getting ready to have a baby,
Mhm.
you can have $1 million baby. Because you can have some products. By the time they turn 18, they're already $1 million baby. It pays off
Mhm.
their college tuition. When they finish, they could get a new home or a car. Those are products that you can set aside, and that's really the best investment you can do when it comes to finances for your children.
And that's really important. A lot of that ties into not only the money mindset, but one of our second points was like just budgeting for an entrepreneurial twist, making sure that you do your budget based on what the two of you are trying to accomplish. Meaning, if you have a corporate job, either both of you could have 9 to 5s, or one's a 9 to 5 and one's an entrepreneurship, or both of you are entrepreneurs. So you need to meet together and decide what your budget's going to look like. Because sometimes as entrepreneurs, income can be inconsistent. You can be 1 month like here, 1 month like that. So how are the two of you going to meet your needs based on the income that's coming in, if that makes sense?
Yes, and what she's going into is the step 3, which is the power of financial unity.
Mhm.
So we got to explain that, and we can explain that to you where we have one vision but 2 roles.
And there's something that, and for couples, listen to this. When I saw someone use this image, it stuck in my brain. Now, for those of you that had kids, you know how when you have that, what they call the 3-legged race, where your legs are taped together. As a couple, you got to be in financial alignment. There's got to be financial unity. So if the two of you, or if you're in that, because remember, 2 of you become one, so you're joined together.
Right.
But if this part of me is going this way
And I'm
and he's
this
going that way, how far are we actually going to get? We're going to be fighting against one another.
and we can fail.
Yeah. But then if you are in financial alignment, how much further can we go? How much faster can we go when we are in alignment, right?
Yes, with ease.
So that's why you have to have those conversations, have those monthly budget meetings. So the two of you are on one accord. Figure out who's the saver and who's the spender, so you can create a concrete plan on how to move forward. And the reason we say that with confidence is because we went through it. We can say, hey, we know what it's like to file bankruptcy. We know what it's like to have a failing business, having to shut down and start all over again.
Yes.
But then we also know what it's like to be given the tools and strategies to incorporate into the marriage to help us when we have those moments where it looks like, okay, we're going this way. Then, ooh, I see that new car. I'm going this way. Ooh, I see that new house. Hold up. Let's dial it back in. Let's have our next meeting. What does it look like? And what would it take for us to accomplish that goal? Does it make sense?
It makes sense. And then part of that one vision also is understanding your strengths, understanding your weaknesses.
Yep.
So if I have strengths, it should be able to offset her weaknesses. Let's look for my strengths that does that. And if she has strengths, let's look at the strength that she has, offset my weakness. So that way, together, we're moving forward in strength and not in weakness. And then we're not moving against each other, not competition, but in unison.
Yeah. I know one of the things I remind of in Proverbs 21, it says the plans of the diligent leads to profit. So we have to be good stewards over what we have. When we are faithful over little, God will make you ruler over much, but it's going to require you to have a strategy in order to move forward. One of the things I get reminded of, that 3-legged race.
Yes.
If I find myself, I'm going one direction, he's going another direction. Okay, we need to come back to the table, because we want to keep going as far as God wants us to go, but we got to do this in alignment. using strategies and wisdom. So it doesn't mean that our needs, our needs can't both be met, but we have to figure out timing. You know, it makes more sense to get the house first. If the car breaks down, okay, let's get together and restructure, come up with a plan of how we can tweak some things so that we can still ultimately accomplish our goal. We want to invest more in our business. What do we need to tweak? If I have to give up this miscellaneous account, okay, put that back into your business. Do you see what I'm saying? Just be mindful that you can have those one-on-one meetings to come back together into alignment. I'm always thinking, hold up. We're going further faster this way. But if one of us starts to go this way or that way, we need to come back to the table and have another conversation. And it's not about pointing the fingers, who's right, who's wrong. It's how do we handle our budget and our finances such that we keep going further, faster.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
Yes, it does. And so, of course, we talk about the personal budget, and we talk about, well, we got to put that business budget together. And that's going to be based on your operating costs, your advertisement, and your investment as well, because you want to do your research and development in your business. Depending on what your business is, the research can be a little bit less than, you know, your operating expense, initial capital. All those things you have to put down on paper. Seek some wise counsel. Do your research. And then, of course, the wealth building budget. Now, that's something you do some research and be open to new and creative ways of investment. Now, there's real estate investment. There's stocks. There's bonds. There's municipal bonds. There's revenue bonds. I mean, and of course, there's cryptocurrency. You know, so you got to do some research, gain some knowledge and some wisdom, because you know what the Bible says: the lack of knowledge, our people fail, we perish. So we got to do the research. We got to understand it and be open, you know, and based on what you're trying to accomplish in life, that's where you're going to take certain risks or less risk, or maybe you can balance your portfolio on how you're doing your investments. Investment, crypto, however you do it. But that's you always got to put that, you know, that piece in your total budget.
So we just want to remind you, if you're ready to stop struggling and start building, send us an email to Eric at buildnetwork.info, or send me a DM under Dr. Sakeisha Builds. Just put in there, the code word is I am love builders. So we know that you are connected to us through Cheryl and Casper. And we're more than happy to send you this outline, all these budget templates that we use, because it can be confusing sometimes when you're trying to have those meetings. And we have a guide that will help guide you along the way.
And thank you again.
Thank you guys.
Thank you, guys.
Oh my goodness, it's great. I can't wait to see you guys in person and stuff. We'll be. I know you guys are on the East Coast. But we'll be going to Dallas a couple of times this year, you know, to the studio. So hopefully we'll hook up there.
Hey,
absolutely. Sounds great.
Dr. Sakeisha, I want my handout.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, our next speaker is in the studio. So we'll be taking a quick break, and we'll be right back in just